Hello, it is time for Word Up Wednesday. This is Becky Williams. I am live today. How exciting is that? I don't normally get to be live, but today I actually tried to do this video twice, and my phone actually just made me stop talking. So it just clicked off. So I had, after the second time of recording, I said, you know what? Probably supposed to do it live today. So I hope that you are not flooding. If you're here in Louisiana, it is monsooning outside. There are tornado warnings and all kinds of things, so I hope that you are safe. Our house is doing okay, but I know we have some friends that are about an hour away from us that their neighborhoods and things are flooding. So sending prayers that way. I'm so tired of places flooding. So before I get started, someone had asked me what Word Up Wednesday is, because I never really did an introduction video on what in the world I'm even doing every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, right? So just wanted to give you a little bit of insight into my goal with this, although I do hope to inspire anybody who watches and give you advice, give you help, that kind of thing. Really, I am geared more towards working moms, whether that means you're a mompreneur like me, where you're going to be starting your own business, that type of thing, or if you are working outside the home, if you're a stay-at-home mom, any of those categories, these types of things are for you. So each week, I'm going to talk about different things that would affect you like they affect me. So today I'm going to talk about marriage. I've talked about situations with kids. I've talked about approval from other people. I'm going to go over some time management stuff, some organization stuff. So there's going to be lots of different things that we talk about. Sorry. On Word Up Wednesday, but someone asked, so I'm just letting you know that's mainly my goal, is to help all of you mamas out there that are doing your best, you're working your tails off, and you maybe just need a little bit of help in some of these different areas. So today I'm actually going to do part one of a two-part series for marriage killers, and I hope you can hear me since the weather's really, really loud outside. So today I'm just going to talk about the first 5. There's actually 10 marriage killers that I want to talk about, but today I'm just going to do 5 to keep this short like I normally do on Wednesday. So I love to start with a book. Here's a book called Love Must Be Tough, and this book is really, really, really good. I love anything from Dr. Dobson. He's very wise, very helpful, very to the point. He's a Christian and just has really great values. So there was a time... my husband's name's Ken, for those who don't know me personally. There was a time when our marriage was not wonderful. Yeah, you're not really supposed to say that. You're supposed to just put on a mask and pretend that everything's okay, but I'm just going to be real with you today. There was a time, we'll be married actually 7 years this July, so our anniversary's coming up. But there was a time when marriage was really, really, really hard. And there was a lot of circumstances that surrounded that. You know, we had kids really early. We have 2 boys. Lots of different things that I'm not going to go into right now. But the point is, this is a book that helped me to understand my role as a wife and my role in the difficulties that we were having. What was it that I was doing that was actually making it worse? Okay, so that's a really great read. Another book that I want to show you is this one. So you can see. It's called Love for a Lifetime, Building a Marriage That Will Go the Distance. This is also by Dr. Dobson. Really, really good book. It's made more like a devotional type book so that you can just read it in little bite-sized pieces. So today, that's actually where I'm going to get my material from today. So the very first thing that Kid and I were doing that we didn't realize was killing our marriage is overcommitment and physical exhaustion. Okay? Really, really beware of this. I know, if you know anything about personality colors, mine is blue and then it's red. So I am like 90 to nothing all the time. If I have downtime, it's actually frustrating for me because I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something. So I don't know if that resonates with any of you, but I need to be doing something all the time. Ken is a green-blue. So he does enjoy doing something sometimes, but mostly, there's my phone giving me all kinds of settings here. Most of the time, he enjoys, just hanging out at the house and chilling out, and he's really good at that. So we balance each other out on that. But as far as overcommitment, if you are saying yes to everything and everyone, especially if you're a people pleaser, go back and watch my my episode on approval addiction. Okay, if you overcommit, something's going to suffer. We all get the same exact time during the day. Nobody gets extra time or extra minutes. So if you're giving yourself to, let's say you're a chairman of 5 different boards of something, and your kids are in every single sport, you're on every committee at church, all those kind of things. If you're choosing that, then that means you're choosing it over your family. This is also something that I have struggled with in the past with working, okay? Because I love my business. I love what I do. I absolutely love it. But I have to balance that and not overcommit, because if I do, then I'm not mommy and I'm not a wife, okay? So you have to be really careful not to overextend yourself. Also physical exhaustion. During the time that Ken and I were really struggling, he was working a lot of overtime. He's a welder by trade, and he was working at a plant. So he would work 12-hour shifts over and over and over. Now, for even a strong marriage, that's difficult. So that's something to just be aware of and know your limits, okay? All right. Number 2, excessive credit and conflict over how money will be spent. We all know that you should not be in debt to people. Sometimes life happens, okay? I understand that. To me, this is not talking so much about credit card debts and loans and that kind of thing, although that is a part. If you are a spender and you're addicted to spending, you need to talk with your spouse about that. And talk to a counselor, your pastor, whoever you need to. But for this, I want to talk about the roles as husband and wife. So for our family, I take care of our finances, which I don't mind doing. But let me just give you a little example so you can understand. Let's say that I did, $10 for snacks for a week. Like that's what we budgeted, pulled out $10. That's what we agreed to do. And by Thursday, we've already spent the $10. Well, on Friday, and this actually happened, Friday, Ken comes in with a bottle of Coke, which is what, $1.50, if you're going to buy it from a pricey store. And I flipped out. I was livid. Okay, it wasn't that it was the dollar, it was because we had already budgeted this $10 amount for snacks. He had already gone over it. It was stressful because we needed everything in our budget to fit and to work and to go smoothly. And he had bought something else. And even though I may have done the same exact thing, I lashed out at him because it became a parent-child relationship with money, which is very, very bad for your marriage, okay? Both of you need to be on the same page of what a budget is, what you're going to budget, who's going to spend what, and you need to be responsible and respectful of each other. Okay, if you have one person dictating and say, hey, this is what we're going to spend the money on, don't go over it, yada, 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 and then it causes tension, okay? I hope I'm making sense on that. Take a little bit of water here. All right, so number 3, selfishness. All right, there are 2 different kinds of people in the world. You're either a giver or you're a taker. And the extreme of both is actually a negative thing. Because if you take, well, of course, nobody wants to be around you, right? If you give, you're lacking boundaries for yourself and you won't have any of your own self left. Okay, so both extremes are bad. Marriage is a dance. Marriage is a balance where you need to find a happy medium with that. Okay, it can definitely cause friction. Also think about how much you're giving to other people. So if you're needing to if somebody says, hey, can you go and do such and such for me? And you say, okay, yeah, sure. Well, maybe the first couple times are fine, but if you have someone outside of your marriage or your family that is constantly pulling you and needing your attention and all that kind of stuff, and it's causing conflict and friction in your marriage, just be aware of that, okay? Don't be selfish with your time, too. All right, number 4, we're just about done. Number 4 is interference from in-laws. I know everybody always teases about the in-laws and their songs and jokes and all that kind of stuff. But for this, it's mainly talking about keeping your marriage sacred. This is something that I really did not do a good job on when we first got married. Although I did live on my own for a little while, which I do suggest that you go, if you're living with your parents, that you live on your own for a little bit before you get married. I do highly recommend that. And Ken had lived on his own as well, but we still depended a lot on our parents, and we asked advice of our parents a lot, to the point of, he'd call his parents and say, well, this is what Becky's doing, yada, 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 which would make them upset. And then vice versa. I'd call my parents, hey, guess what Ken did today? what do you think about this? What should I do about this? That's not healthy. Okay, it's not keeping boundaries. It's definitely destroying respect and intimacy in your marriage for sure. So you can still talk to your parents. You can still get advice when you need that, but maybe ask your spouse. So, for example, we have something coming up, some different expenses and things that we may want to spend money on. And so him and I have already talked about it, but I should ask him, do you mind if I ask my dad to look over this and just have an extra set of eyes? That's very different than me seeing a financial decision that needs to be made, not talking to him about it. That goes back to my earlier steps, right? But then also going to my parents and saying, hey, okay, so here's what we need to do, yada, 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 and leaving him out of it. Okay, it just causes tension, it causes friction. All right, and number 5, and we're going to wrap this up, is unrealistic expectations. Yeah, I know. You know where I'm going with this. Okay, your spouse cannot be God for you, period. I talked about this in an earlier Word Up Wednesday video. Please don't put unexpected expectations, unrealistic expectations, there we go, now I got it, on your spouse, okay? If you're coming into the marriage broken and your, I guess, your self-worth, your self-confidence, all of those things are not all the way full, please don't expect your spouse to feel that for you. Okay, it's very hard on them, it's stressful in your marriage, and it's unrealistic. Only God can feel that. Okay, only God can make you a complete person. So please, please, please don't have your spouse to try to balance you out. Okay, I've heard of several people say, oh, well, if we can just get married, everything will be good. You know, he's my other half. No, sweetie, he is not your other half. You are a whole person, and he is a whole person, and together you can make a marriage. But you can't have two half people or people who are not full in who God has made them to be and have a marriage. Okay, so that is 5 steps or 5 things. Next week, we're going to talk about space invaders. We're going to talk about alcohol or substance abuse. We're going to talk about other addictions like pornography, gambling. And we're going to also talk about business failure and business success. Okay, so tune in next week. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please stay safe in this weather. And I will see y'all next week. God bless.